Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's The Art of Possible with Generative AI. And today we will be looking at how you can leverage Microsoft Copilot within your Microsoft Word application. My name is Joshua, and I'll be your illustrator for the webinar today. And I have with me my colleague Suraj, who is in the chat box, who would be taking your questions while I do the illustration. So please, if you do have any question, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A section, and my colleague would be answering those questions. And also, please do note that this webinar is recorded. And Suraj, please, if you can just confirm once again that you can see my screen. Yeah, I believe everyone can see my screen now. So this is our agenda for today. First and foremost, we'll be looking at what the Microsoft Copilot is exactly, and then would we'll proceed to look at what the Copilot prompting principles or guidelines look like, and then would have an overview of Copilot in the Word application if you're accessing it via the cloud or if you're accessing it on your application downloaded on your laptop and the various tasks you can use the Copilot to do within your Copilot Word application. Next, we would have an overview of the Microsoft Copilot security architecture and some important information you need to know with regards to you imputing your data into the Copilot. And then I'll show you how you can verify if your chat is secured or not based on you using an enterprise version of the Copilot. And then we move on to look at current limitations as to the use of Copilot and also the responsible use of generative AI tools. And then we move on to our demo session. We take our key takeaways and then we have our question and answer. Here's a quick disclaimer. This webinar is funded by Enterprise Ireland and the European Commission. And any view expressed by me today or my colleague Suraj does not represent the views of our funders. And also note that any logo trademark used today are the properties of your respective owners. Now, what exactly is Microsoft Copilot? Think of Microsoft Copilot as an ever reliable, ever present colleague or assistant that lives within your Microsoft 365 framework or Microsoft 365 applications and can easily access your email, can access your Word application, your Excel, your PowerPoint, your SharePoint, your OneDrive. And note that the model powering this Copilot is OpenAI's GPT, and you can get access to the latest models from GPT, which powers this Copilot. And like I said, you can connect it to your different Microsoft apps, and you can use it to summarize documents, draft documents. You can use it to generate images, and you can use it to solve problems that probably have represented pain points in the past for you with regards to the use of Microsoft Word application. Just like every other thing that works well in our day-to-day professional life, for you to be able to get the best out of using Microsoft Copilot, even though today we are not dwelling on the Microsoft Copilot chat itself, but we are looking at the Microsoft Word application and how you can leverage Copilot within it. It's important to take note of these guidelines that have been put together by Microsoft itself on the use of its Copilot. The first one is goal. You need to ascertain what are you looking to get from the Copilot chat. What do you need it to do for you? Do you want it to write a summary for you? Do you want it to draft a meeting plan for you? You need to ascertain what your goal is. And then you move on to your context. Is it for a meeting with the board members? Is it for a meeting with some others outside organization stakeholders? Is it with some junior colleagues? You need to provide to the Copilot what your context is. And then you need to move on to your expectations. Are you looking for your output to be in a tabular format? Are you looking for your output to be in bullet points? Are you looking for your output to be in paragraphs? And then lastly, what source do you want Copilot to get your information from or to get its response from? Is it from your own work documents that are on your SharePoint, or is it from the web? So you need to ascertain these four key principles for you to be able to get the best out of your use of Microsoft Copilot. And I'll be providing the slide to you by the end of this webinar. And if you want to learn more about this, you can click on the link that's on the slide. Now, this is exactly what Microsoft Word looks like on the web. So you can access it from the web or you can access it from your app on your laptop. But this is an overview of it on the web. And for you to be able to activate the Copilot within it, all you need to do is click on this Microsoft Copilot icon over here, and then a pane would open by the right-hand side of your screen. Or you can start over here by typing in what you want to draft inside your Copilot, or if you want to upload a previous document from your SharePoint or from your laptop, all you need to do is click on this plus icon, or you type in a /, and then you'll be able to upload your document. I will just quickly show us what this looks like by following this link over here. So if you click on that link, it brings you to this page, and all you need to do is click on create blank document. If you probably don't have an idea of what you're trying to do from the scratch, all you need to do is open this. You can type in here, it's still loading, or you can click on this to activate the Microsoft chat by the side of your Word document. And we can simply just ask it a question like, and in the case of you're trying to draft a document and you have no idea what you want to do, you can simply just paste this or type this here, provide, provide a one-page summary of the guidelines for the responsible use of AI in the public service. And if you want to probably want to attach the guideline, if you are not confident of it providing you the right response, you can attach the guideline. You can attach the guideline from here, or like I said, you can use the /. I'll also show us, you can use the / this way, and you just simply attach the document and you send your prompt. So while that is loading, let's go back to our presentation slide over here. Yeah, so that's what it looks like if you want to immediately activate the Copilot chat within your Word app and you're not sure of what exactly you want to type in or you're still trying to brainstorm. You can immediately ask Copilot to help you provide a draft, and then you can refine it. So we've just created a draft in the previous tab. And so you can simply just describe what you would like to write, including notes or an outline or a table or whatsoever. And when it generates, you can either keep it, you can ask it to rewrite it, or you can ask it to regenerate what you've asked it to do. You can also base You can also base your draft on a certain document from your file, your email, or a previous meeting, just like I based my initial prompt on the guideline for the responsible use of AI in the public service. So like I said, you can use the forward chat over there when you open the word on the web. So this immediately pops up. You can input the forward slash to upload a reference document or base document, or you can use this and then you can type in what you're trying to get from that base document. You can also, I'm going to show us this. You can rewrite the response. You can ask it to transform it into a table. You can edit it as well. We'll see that as we move on. Like we can see an example over here whereby this was the initial test over here, and then it was asked to transform it to a table immediately. So rather than you having to go click on, go look for how to insert a table, you're trying to think of how many columns or rows should a table have. You can immediately just highlight a particular test and ask for it to be transformed into a table. And then you can ask Copilot about the document, maybe when you're done drafting or when you're done uploading your own original document from your SharePoint or your laptop. You can immediately ask it certain questions like to help you summarize the document. You can ask it to give you the action points from the document. You can ask it to help you tailor a one-page summary of the document to a public-facing audience or whatsoever. And within the Copilot chat and your Word app as well, you can generate an image. So let's just go back to look at our previous prompt and see. So over here, we can see it has created a summary of the guideline for the responsible use of AI in the public service. And these are the core principles for responsible AI. And for those of us that are familiar with it, we can approve that these are surely the principles that the guideline provides for the use of for the responsible use of AI in the public service. And it's immediately providing links over here to the base document that you provided in case you want to verify this summary that it has provided. Yeah, and even though we asked for a one page, that's to tell us that, AI is not perfect. Over here, you can see AI generated content may be inaccurate. So over here, we can see that we asked for a one page, but, it's over 2 pages that it is provided already. So you can either ask it to keep it, thus it begins to live inside this document, or you can regenerate your response if you're not pleased with the response it has provided. So let's just ask it to keep this response that it generated based on the prompt that we gave to it. And as professionals, there's a need for human in the loop. Just over here, the very first principle is human agency and oversight. We are to always verify AI responses, verify if it is in line with what the actual facts states. And we can decide to so let's highlight this and ask it to insert it in a table. So I can just click over here, draft with Copilot, and I will ask impute into a table. So you can say impute or transform into a table, and we can see it's already putting this inside a table. We have the principles over here, and then we have a description of what the principles look like over here. And once again, do you want to replace this with what we have there, or you just want to keep it in addition to that? So if we say replace, and we can immediately see that that's replaced that paragraph with this table. And let's try the image one, even if at times it could be. So over here, let's try and impute an image into this Word document. So all I need to do is come over here and click on the Copilot icon, and I'll paste this prompt. So I'll paste this prompt into here, and it's an image description of the image to be generated. I want two colleagues in a modern office, professional business, casual attire, and other specific details I want to be included in the image. And you go over here to tools, you click on this called the designer, which is meant for image generation within the Microsoft Copilot chat. And once I do that and I enter my instruction, it begins to generate. And then when it's done generating, we can insert it into anywhere within this document that we want to insert it. So while that is generating, let's go back over here and we'll touch on that again. So like I said at the beginning, that we are going to be looking at Microsoft Copilot's security architecture for you to have some level of confidence as to you imputing certain kind of data into Copilot chat. So the use of Copilot complies with the GDPR recommendations. So if you're using the enterprise version that is recommended by your organization or your business, your data, your use of data complies with GDPR. Secondly, the use of Copilot also complies to the European Union data boundary, whereby whatsoever data that is processed within Europe stays within Europe. And then number three, if you're using the enterprise version and not the free version, your data is not being used to train the GPT model. So any sensitive information, any private information that you're using within your Copilot stays within your organization and is not being used to train the foundational model. And four, it also complies to the risk AI risk management systems and all the applicable standards. Microsoft complies with the standards with regards to the use of your data. And for you to be sure that your enterprise data protection is on, all you need to do is go within the chat that we opened earlier on. I'll show it to us. So once you click on this green icon over here, it turns to full green icon, and then it gives you a short notice that your information is protected. Here are the current limitations to the use of the Microsoft Copilot. And the first one is the fact that AI models are not perfect. It might generate inaccurate responses to you. And that is why there's always a need for you to always verify its responses. Imagine you preparing for a meeting and you just quickly use the Microsoft Pilot to, draft the agenda for the meeting or to draft the summary of the guidelines for responsible use of AI in the public service. And you never took your time to review what the output is, and you immediately copied it into the document, and then you go to the meeting, and then you're sharing the meeting, you're sharing your slide or this summary with everyone, and then someone there who is very familiar with the guideline is saying something that is misleading. That would be very embarrassing to you. And that is why there's always a need for a human in the loop. Don't put 100% confidence in AI outputs. You always need to verify them. Secondly, at the moment, the Microsoft Copilot within the Word application struggles with some form of tables, some form of charts, and so on. And you need to be mindful of this. Also, there are limitations to languages that it can support outside the English language. So you need to be mindful of it as well. And with regards to limitations to summaries that you can generate or document lengths that you can impute. So for summaries and full context task, you have a limitation of approximately 1.5 million words or 300 pages. And for Q&A about a particular document, you have a limitation of about 3,000 words. So for you to be able to bypass these limitations, all you need to do is to, break your context down or summarize them in parts. So for more, you can follow the link at the bottom of the slide and you get more understanding of how you can, maximize your input. So with regards to the use of generative AI tools, there are some best practice for you in order to ensure that, you or your organization is not getting into trouble as to the use of AI. Like I said earlier on, one of the principles is human oversight that is recommended by the Guideline for Responsible Use of AI in the Public Service. Another one is accountability, whereby when someone has used an AI tool, generative AI tool to generate a response or whatsoever, if that happens to be misleading or to be biased or might have hallucinated, which is the AI generating responses that seems true, but actually not true. Microsoft Copilot won't be held responsible for that. OpenAI won't be held responsible for that, but you and your organization will be held accountable if, a certain response happens to bring disrepute. Number two, you need to be mindful of using free generative AI tools because there's a high tendency that your data that you input into it will be used to train the model, thereby you exposing certain information to other people. Because once your data has been used to train the model, at some point, someone else might interact with the model in a context very similar to yours, and it can provide your details to that person. That's why you need to be mindful of that. And there needs to be a well put together um, workflow review process within your organization to ensure that, there's a proper human in the loop process. If it could be two persons or three persons reviewing AI outputs, and within your organization, it's always important to outrightly stipulate to your manager or to your colleagues that this part of this summary or this executive summary is AI generated. So they can also review it diligently as well to ensure that it is in line with what the facts are. And lastly, you need to cultivate an AI awareness and upskilling nature, whereby you need to keep attending webinars like this because as AI continues to advance, these models advance, the way they work advance, and what you might learn in this webinar today might not be applicable to what's in vogue in 6 months' time. So you need to keep upskilling. So right now we'll go back to the initial chat we had going on, and then we go into our demo session. So we have the image over here. It's generated, and all we need to do is I click here. If you can see my cursor over here. So this is where I want the image to be imputed. And all I need to do is click on this plus icon to insert it over there. And now I have an image within this draft here. So now we go into our demo session, and the first thing we are going to do is to upload a document that contains meeting notes. So it contains fictional meeting notes of a fictional organization in Ireland. I created the document using synthetic information, and we are going to get some insights into that document. So all I need to do is go to this website again, word.cloud.microsoft, and I'm going to upload a file. So you can upload the file from your laptop or from your SharePoint. So I'm going to upload this one called Copilot demo, turning meeting note into a structured output. So that's just how you Okay, we have someone's hand raised up. Suraj, I think someone is raising um I can see your hands raised. Okay, probably that's a mistake. We'll just continue. Okay, so this is a synthetic. I'll zoom I'll zoom it out a bit. So this is a synthetic meeting note for a fictional organization called Midlands Public Service Improvement Office, and you can see the date is April next month, and the meeting is Responsible AI Working Group monthly delivery meeting, and it has the location, it has the attendees. These are all fictional people, and it has all these details, key artifacts referenced in the meeting notes, and we want to summarize this into a structured internal report. So all I'm going to do is so there's a summary over here as well. So you can also avail of this over here, whereby you click on. So once you upload a document, Copilot immediately gives you a summary at the top over here. And when you click on view more, you can see the summary. You can change, the details of the summary to either brief or standard or a more detailed summary. You can copy it outrightly out of there, and you can open a chart based on this summary alone. You can get insights from the summary immediately, whereby every key figures inside this summary would be put in the insight section. We have the discussion session over here. There were no key discussion in the meeting summary. We have the activity over here. So this activity is showing that this was created by me. So this is the prompt we want to use to turn this meeting notes into a structured output. I'm just copying it out. So I'm going to go to the Copilot chat icon over here to initiate the chat panel by the right, or you can use this as well. But let's go to the chat panel here. So I'm going to paste this instruction, and the chat panel over here can immediately sense that you're trying to ask certain questions or give certain instructions based on the Word document that is directly open beside it. So this is the prompt I'm giving now. Using the meeting notes in this document, draft a structured internal report, include the purpose, the decisions taken, the agreed actions, and open questions. And I said, oh, use a professional Irish public service tone. But in your context, you can say use a professional tone for your organization. For example, if you work with the the Department for Public Jobs, or you work with the Department for Health or whatsoever. So, and the Copilot is familiar with your previous documents that you've been working on in your SharePoint, and it can use a tone that is in those documents. So me saying a professional Irish public service tone is just for illustrative purpose. So when I click the enter button, it's going to generate an output based on this instruction, and you can choose to replace everything you have in this document with this, or you can add the output in addition to what you already have. So it's now generating a more structured output based on the prompts that I have given to it. So it's taking some time to generate the response. So while it's doing that, I would pull up another prompt that we can use for this particular document, which is to put all um, key information into a table, the action point, who the owner of the action point is, the deadline, the risk if the actions are delayed. So I'm just putting up the prompt now, and we are going to use that prompt for this use case. So while that is it's taking some time, I'm just going to so over here if you want to ground your context to your organizational data, then all you need to do is click on work over here, and it's only going to generate outputs based on documents that are already contained in your SharePoint, documents that are already being interacted with within your organization. But if you want to get information from the web, then you can click on web. You can see the very first document we attached, which was the responsible AI guideline. I attached it from my laptop, so there was no need for me to gain access to the web. But if in case you don't have that, all you need to do is switch to the web over here, and you can just ask it to give you a summary of the responsible use of AI guideline. And you can change the model you're using as well. Sorry, just a moment. Oh, so it was showing that earlier on. You can change the model based on the ChatGPT model that you want to. Do you want to use the latest one, 5.4, or you want to use previous models like 5.3? But we'll come back to that. Let's go to see if this output is out now. Okay, so now we have our output based on the prompts we gave, and I can choose to keep this or replace it. Okay, so it's giving some additional prompts. Do you want to add prepared by and circulation details? You can say yes, and you send the instruction, and it's going to add that to this. So we can see that now we have detailed agreed action points whereby you can see what the actions are, who are the owners of the actions, and when the due date is. And so you can see that this output is much more structured than than the initial details we had from the meeting notes. And I can go ahead to add this as well. Even though it's done that, we can ask it to do this whereby it's over here, so we don't have the risk if delayed by the side of this. So this new prompt is asking for the risk if delayed to be attached to this table. So it's generating, and I'll pull up our second use case now. Okay, so for our second use case, I'll just use the very first demo here. So now we can see that Copilot has added uh, so now we can see that Copilot has added another detail here, the risk if delayed. The initial one generated didn't have that. So that is how, you can play around with this. If you want to add an additional row or an additional column, all you need to do is type it in the prompt rather than you having to, go over here and trying to navigate your way around. With just a single line, you can transform the outlook of your document. what we want to do now is to summarize another use case here into a one-page executive briefing for a management board. And the briefing is going to contain purpose, why it matters, the proposed pilot and main risk, and so on. So I'm just going to go back to this that we had over here, and I can just control all. I can just control all, and so because it's on the web, that's why the chart has disappeared. I'll click on it again. And just refresh the page. Okay, so I'll initiate Copilot again beside this document. It's coming up, or we can use this as well. We can use this button over here if that's not coming up. Or we can use draft with Copilot, and I can just paste this instruction. So this is the instruction. Summarize this paper into a one-page executive briefing for a management board. Use these headings, keep the writing concise and senior level. So now it's creating a draft. So now we have a draft in addition to what we initially have over here. So if you want to add your new draft in addition to this, you can just click on keep it. If you want to replace what you had initially, then you can click on replace over here. If you're not pleased with this output, all you need to do is click on this icon and then it regenerates the output for you. So now we can see that it's immediately generating an output. And if you're not pleased, you can regenerate again. So over here, we can just say keep it in addition to what we initially add over here. So this is the executive briefing, and it already has the different sections within it, and very well put together formats. And just while I continue, if there's anyone in this webinar today and there are certain pain points that you usually encounter in your use of Microsoft Word, you can just type them in the chat or in the Q&A. I'll be preparing a prompt pack of about 20 different prompts for Word by the end of this webinar, and you can go through them when I send them to you. So if there are just certain pain points that you encounter in your use of Word, please just type them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll be sending a well put together prompt pack for everyone to use. So we can see over here what our output looks like. This was the one we did whereby we asked for an additional column by the side or additional row. And yeah, so now we just look at another prompt again. So we can change the tone of the entire document. Let's do that now. We can decide to change the tone of this entire document to for a different audience. So I'm going to control all again, and I'll just click on this icon here, or I right click, and then I have draft with Copilot. Then I'll paste this instruction. We write this text in plain English for a public facing website. And these are the requirements. Use short sentences, avoid technical jargon, keep it under 160 words. So let's see what this looks like. So in your own context as well, there might be certain legislative documents that you work with, and you need to always explain those documents to the general public or to a client. All you need to do is just give it such a prompt to, change the tone of your draft to a particular audience you're trying to reach to, and immediately transforms. So let's click on replace, and we've replaced the initial draft to this. And, it's void of too much technical jargon, just very plain English that someone can understand. I'll take that back to what we have initially. And we'll try another prompt again to also, so let's try this prompt. Once again, I am highlighting all the information on this page. I am right-clicking. I'm going to draft with Copilot, and I'm pasting this prompt over here. We write this test for a senior management audience. Use a concise executive tone and emphasize business value, risk controls, governance, and rewrite this in a more approachable tone for an internal learning newsletter. So I send the prompt and let's see the transformation that it comes up with again. And I can choose to keep it in addition to what we had earlier on, or I can replace it so we can have a clean view. So I've replaced it and we can see what this looks like. Now it contains the business value that we asked for. It contains the risk controls, the governance, the pilot and recommendation, and also contains details about the learning spotlights in line with responsible AI and the Irish Public Service. So this is just how you can keep, transforming your drafts or your original documents within Microsoft's Copilot app. And we look at one more use case. So I'm just going to take this back to the original details we had here, and we'll look at one more prompt. And like I said, if there are certain pain points that you do have in your use of Microsoft Word app and your organization has the Copilot subscription, you can send it in the chat here or via email what your challenges are before the end of today, and I'll be sending across a prompt pack of about 20 to 30 prompts that you can use to transform your Word document, to change the format, to change the table or insert a table, to insert an image, just like I did over here. So this is our last prompt. So once again, I have copied all of this and I am clicking on draft with Copilot and I am pasting this prompt again. So turn this review notes into a management checklist for approving the pilot. Use check boxes and group the checklist under governance, data, people, process, quality assurance. Mm. So now the key detail here is we've asked for a check box. So let's see how it imputes that. So I just quickly looked at the question and answer. I can see someone asking a question. I'm sure Suraj is about to answer that. So for me, what I was doing is I just simply clicked on Control Z and it just undid the response that I had initial on. So once I click on, so over here, if I click on Control Z, it goes back to what the initial output on this page was. And if I want to go back to that, I click on Control Y, and yeah, yeah. So but with the Control Y, it didn't ask me if I wanted to replace what I had initially or if I want to keep my new output. So this was what we had initially from here upward, and this is the new output where we asked for a checkbox. And over here we have the action, we have the suggested owner, we have the timing, and why it matters, a checklist. So this is the checklist over here, and I can simply just ask for it to maybe impute another column for me to be able to tick if this has been done or not. I just click here. I'm not sure. I usually interchange row and column, but I'll just go with row to the right and see if it's not in I won't do it. Insert a row. So I'm just so the idea is I'm trying to insert another I think what I okay. So I wanted something here, but what it did was to yeah, so yeah, that was right. So I asked for where I can just tick if this action has been fulfilled over here, and I have the tick boxes in between them. So I only clicked this part of the table. It didn't do this part. So these are some of the intricacies that might come up. So all you need to do is highlight all of the table that you want the instruction to be applied to, and then you have these ticks that you can easily impute over there. So that's all for this demo on using your Microsoft Copilot within your Microsoft Word application. Now we'll go to our key takeaways and we'll take our question and answer. So the key takeaways I want you to take from this is this first and foremost, like I said from the beginning, that you should consider Copilot as a ever reliable, ever present assistant within your Microsoft 365 suite, even though it's not always perfect. Just like you work with colleagues, you need to verify whatever they've brought to your table, or if you have a personal assistant, you have to always review their output before you final go ahead. Secondly, still on the issue of a human oversight, humans need to always review AI outputs and ensure that they are in line with your organizational policy. And lastly, use AI responsibly, ensure that it is not biased towards anyone, no matter, you know, their color, no matter, what their role is outside your organization or whatsoever. Avoid bias and avoid hallucination. Follow the seven guidelines that has been provided by the guideline for responsible use of AI in the public service. So now we'll be going into our Q&A session for any questions that are yet to be answered by Suraj. And while we go into our Q&A, I'll just quickly put up a poll to get your feedback on this webinar and how we can improve on our subsequent webinars as well. So please, we would appreciate if you could give us a feedback on our webinar. So Suraj, I don't know, are there any questions that you are yet to answer, or any particular questions that is being directed to me that I need to answer. Hello, Suraj, can you hear me?
Yes, Josh, I can hear you. If you can just answer one of the questions that I had shared you there on your chat.
Sorry, where did you share the question?
I sent
Okay.
you a direct message. I sent you a direct message.
Okay. So can you show it doing a AI canvas map? Okay, well, I haven't tried that, but we still have some time. Let's let's experiment and see. I haven't tried that, but let's experiment. Yeah, thank you for your feedback so far. If there's anyone yet to give us a feedback, or feedback would be highly appreciated. So yeah, thank you for that. Let's try it. I guess and based on this question, I would include it in the prompt back I'll be sending to us. So let's try the content of this page and just simply ask it. So I've simply just asked, can you generate a canvas map? And let's see, like I said, I haven't tried it myself, but let's see what it looks like. And if it's not good enough, I'll try and get a prompt that would do better. So this is the map that it's done. I mean, I'm not sure if it's exactly what the person that has asked that question would like to see, but let's try and improve on it. So I have asked for a well refined and clean map, and yeah, yeah, I believe I'll be able to get a better prompt across to do this. I mean, at the moment, this is what it's doing. Yeah, so I haven't tried it myself, but then I'll get a better prompt that can better do this. And if this person can also send me an email, the email that you got when you registered for this webinar, to give me a better context on what you would want the map to look like, and then I'll be able to get a better prompt that'll be able to do that. Yeah, so do we have any other questions, Raj, that we need to answer?
No, Josh.
Okay, let me try to I'll click on replace again, and I'll try to see if the chat panel over here would give us a better map. So So I have asked for you to visualize this into a better canvas map with less text, and let's see if it would do something better than what we're seeing now. And after this, we can end the webinar. So everyone, yeah, like based on the poll, if there are any other areas you'd want us to cover in our subsequent webinars, would be more than happy to do that. And yeah, so this is what we have again based on the mapping, but and I'm sure we will be able to do something better with regards to mapping when we have our webinar on PowerPoint as well. Yeah, I think we'll be able to have a better visuals than this. And I'll work on some better prompts that can do that before I send the prompt back tomorrow. So thank you again, everyone, for attending, and we hope you enjoyed this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you in our subsequent webinars. So we would have a follow-up series on this on Excel, on PowerPoint, and I think we'll be having on Outlook as well. So we would also have one which would be more robust than all of this, and that would be solely on Microsoft Copilot chat itself, like the standalone chat, like your GPT chat or your cloud chat. And that would be more robust than this. So this is me just focusing on the apps within the 365 outside the chat. And thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy your Easter holidays. Thank you, Suraj.
Thanks, everyone.